Imagine walking into a Roman bathhouse. The marble gleams, the air smells of oils and perfume. A senator smiles at you, teeth so white they almost glow, impossibly white. Now imagine what he just rinsed his mouth with, human urine. Not as a joke, not as a dare, as the standard beauty treatment of the Roman Empire. This is the story of how one of history's most disgusting substances became a status symbol, and what it reveals about power, class, and the lies we tell ourselves about beauty. The illusion of beauty. In ancient Rome, white teeth weren't just attractive, they were a statement. White teeth meant you could afford expensive treatments, you had leisure time to spend on appearance, you belonged to the elite. But here's the thing, most people's teeth aren't naturally white, they're yellowish, stained from wine, food, age. So the wealthy needed a solution, and they found one in the most unexpected place: public toilets. The chemistry of disgust. Urine contains urea. When urea breaks down, it transforms into ammonia, a powerful bleaching agent. The Romans didn't know the chemistry, but they knew it worked, so they collected it, bottled it, and made it the foundation of an empire-wide beauty industry. And the most disturbing part isn't that they used pee, it's who had to collect it. The labor of disgust. Across Rome, there were public urinals, forica, communal toilets where anyone could relieve themselves. Enslaved people and the poorest citizens were assigned to stand there all day, collecting urine in amphorae, large clay pots. This wasn't a hidden practice, it was public, normalized, legal. The wealthy walked past these collection points on their way to the forum, knowing exactly what was happening. They didn't care. They needed their teeth white, so the pee flowed, day after day, year after year. The system, turning waste into wealth, but here's where it gets darker. Rome didn't just tolerate this trade, it taxed it. Emperor Vespasian, in the 1st century, saw an opportunity. He placed a tax on urine collection. Every amphora that left a public toilet had to be accounted for. Taxed. When his advisors complained that the tax was undignified, Vespasian reportedly held up a coin and said, "Pecunia non olet." Money doesn't stink. He was joking. But he was also serious, because Rome had created a system where the poor supplied their body's waste. The enslaved handled it. The state profited from it, the rich got to feel beautiful, and everyone pretended it was normal. The supply chain, Portugal to Rome. The demand was so high that Rome couldn't rely on local collection alone, so they imported it. Portugal became famous for exporting urine to Rome. Entire ships sailed across the Mediterranean carrying amphorae of human waste. It was a commodity, like grain, like wine. Fullers, textile workers who used urine to clean. Cloth also supplied it. So did laundries. The urine trade created jobs, routes, and a whole invisible economy built on human disgust. And the wealthier you were, the more you could afford to use. The moral contradiction. Here's what's fascinating. Romans were obsessed with cleanliness. Bathing was sacred. They had elaborate plumbing, aqueducts, public baths. But they had no problem with urine. Why? Because cleanliness wasn't about hygiene, it was about class. Using urine was clean if you were rich enough to afford it. It was disgusting if you were poor enough to have to handle it. The same substance, different moral value depending on who touched it. Sound familiar? The parallels, modern disgust. Fast forward to today. We don't use urine anymore, but we do something remarkably similar. We use chemicals extracted from other people's bodies, placenta in skincare, collagen from animal bones, snail mucus in Korean beauty products. We pay premium prices for substances that should disgust us. And just like Rome, we've created a system where the poor and marginalized supply the raw materials, the wealthy consume the finished product. We pretend it's science, not exploitation. The only difference? We've rebranded the disgust. We call it wellness and we call it natural. We call it luxury. But the structure is identical. The teeth themselves, what they reveal. Teeth whitening in Rome wasn't really about teeth. It was about visibility, about making your class status visible every time you smiled. Your teeth announced, "I have resources, I have access, I have power." And that message was built on the labor and disgust of people with no choice. Today, we've kept that same system. Teeth whitening is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Influencers show off their bleached smiles. Dentists promise Hollywood white. But we've forgotten the cost, not the chemical cost, the human cost. The uneasy truth. Beauty is control. Here's what the urine trade reveals about beauty standards. They're not natural. They're not inevitable. They're constructed. And they're constructed to benefit the people with power. Rome decided white teeth equals beautiful, so they built an entire system to deliver white teeth to the wealthy. The poor paid the price, literally handling waste, literally excluded from the beauty standard they created. We do the same thing today. We decide certain bodies are beautiful, certain skin tones, certain ages, certain abilities, and then we build industries around it. Cosmetic surgery, skin lightening, anti-aging treatments, and the people who can't afford it, they're told they're not trying hard enough. What this means now, every time you see someone with impossibly white teeth, remember, that's a choice. A choice to participate in a system, not a moral failing, but a choice nonetheless. And every time you feel the pressure to whiten, to bleach, to conform to a beauty standard, ask yourself, who benefits from this? Who pays the cost? And what am I willing to accept? Because beauty standards aren't neutral. They never have been. They're a way of organizing power, of saying, these people matter, these people don't. And we've been doing it for at least 2,000 years. Connecting to your life. The Romans thought their system was normal, inevitable, just how things worked. They couldn't imagine a world where white teeth weren't a status symbol, where the poor weren't expected to supply waste for the wealthy to consume. But that world existed, and it exists now. Every object we've covered on this channel, pockets, high heels, wigs, diamonds, they all follow the same pattern. Someone decided something was desirable, an industry formed around it, and the cost was paid by people with no choice. The urine trade is just the most honest version of that story. Because at least with urine you can see the disgust. You can't pretend it's anything other than what it is. So next time someone tells you that beauty is natural, remember the Romans. Remember the enslaved people standing in public toilets. Remember the ships carrying amphorae across the Mediterranean. Remember the emperor laughing, "Money doesn't stink." Beauty isn't natural. It's a system, and systems can be changed.